Hello, what I'd like to do in this little video tutorial is show you how to get the best out of these metal dies here, the straight trellis cut, and just some hints and tips on using these. If you've used our arched one, then you'll be an absolute old hand with these. But if it's new to you, let me just run through, won't take too long, and I'll show you how we can get the best out of cutting these dies. Now with the straight trellis die, we can make cards that look like this. I think you agree, it looks absolutely lovely. So what we've got to do is just work through the process. Now you've got a couple of ways of doing this. You can either use the template or you can work from the CD or a combination of the both. And what I've got here is just a panel that I've cut out. And I think if you can make out, I've got my dots on here and a cut line for us there. So that gives me a guideline. Could also work the middle line. It just helps me when it comes to putting the dies on, because we're going to just use a little bit of tape. It just gives you a guide as to where to put them so you know what's happening. Now what you can do, if you haven't got the halfway mark at this point, I will just fold this over in half. And that will give me my halfway line there, like so, and then open it up. Okay, but that'll just give me a mark to work to there. I've actually got just a little point on that particular point. Okay, so what we're going to end up with are actually two of these, and we don't cut any lines yet. You can fold it, that's not a problem, but don't actually cut the lines just yet. Now I've got the other one here. I'll just put that to one side. So we'll concentrate on this. And what I'll do now is just pop it onto the machine. But before I do that, can I just show you how we're going to do this? Because we get with these dies what I call the best cutting edge, or the nice surface, the good surface, and then at the back it's not quite as decorative. So we have a decorative surface and then a plain surface at the back. So putting the right die on and cutting through is important. Now when we do that, we've got to actually, I find, tape them on as well. So if I just work like this and show you. So the first thing to do now is get this die down into our first panel, and one of the handy hints is just come down from the top here. Give yourself a couple of mil. If we're too close to the top, it can just shear off a little bit, and there's plenty of space here. So come down, and what we're trying to do is just get a little bit of equidistance backwards and on either side there. And don't worry if that overhangs, that's okay, and it may just overhang there slightly, don't worry. Okay, it depends how close you've cropped to this line as well. So once that's down, and I'm pretty pleased with that, it'll all look nice because each of the panels will hide any slight irregularities. We need to just stick this into position so that we can manipulate it on our cutter. Now what I've done is taken some of the tack off by sticking it onto my jeans, onto your shirt. Just, you don't want it too tacky, or else this tape will lift off when you come through, because the machine's going to be pushing it down as well. Okie dokie, so that's all in position now. So next job to do is just run it through our machine, and in this instance I'm using the Big Shot. Okay, as I said, I'm using the Big Shot here. This will work on your Cuttlebug and any of the bigger cutting machines as well. One thing to note, what we are going to do, the first cut I always find is slightly the hardest, because we've got to run it through the machine this way. So as long as you can actually physically pull the piece of paper through, push it through, you know you're going to be okay. Then after that it gets easier and easier in effect, as the machine doesn't have to go so far through. So do just check that you've got enough depth. Now if not, cut a little bit off the bottom line here. That won't be a problem. Okay, now the reason I've done the tape is I'm going to turn this over now, and so that will cut through this way, and I'm just going to line all my plates up, and what I've got to do is make sure that that end there, this is the bit that's going to cut, isn't going to be sticking over too far, so that can just go nicely through the machine and not hurt my edge there. So I'm going to come back now, pop this plate on top like so, put that through the sandwich, and then we'll just put this through the machine. So with all my plates in, you hear it crunching. I cut through, go to the end, I can hear it dropping off there, come back. I just come back just to wind it through from where I started. And there we go. That's our first cut through, like so. The die's just dropped away. Wasn't too much tape, so it hasn't stuck. too badly, and there we go. That will just flap a bit. The next cut will cut that. Okay, it might be hard to pick up on the camera here, but we get what I call a decorative edge here. Now if I flip that over, that's not quite, it hasn't got that lovely sort of embossed feel to it. So we're going to do these two panels first. So the next thing to do is just get rid of your bits out of here. I'm just going to tap these. So we've got our first cut done. I'm just going to pop the die back down again, leaving a little bit of edge either side. That's on my halfway line in there. And again, just stick this into position so that I can pop it back into my machine. So again, put my plates in. I'm cutting through and up. And you can see now that that fits nicely underneath there. So we don't have to worry about this being caught in the sides if it's a little bit thinner. If you've got the Grand Caliber, it's a bigger machine, but with the smaller machines you can certainly do this, as you can see from here. Again, I've just run that through, you can feel it cutting, and again you can see now that that's cut on that bit, that comes away. Let's give that a little flick, and we've got another lovely cut there, and this time you can see I'll just gently peel that away from the surface. Okay, so we've now got two parts of the trellis here. If this is in your way and it's annoying you, just snip it off. It's just as you go on to the next cut, you can just either carry on in a line or just snip that. I haven't got my blade here. I'm just going to pull that off out the way. Okay, so those are our two decorative edges. So it stands to reason that if we put that same die back on, we're going to then, when it folds, as you can see here now, we want two decorative edges there. That means we've got to now, instead of cutting through on that side, flip over and put our dies this way along. So make sure I've got the right one. That's why we have a left and a right. And again, now I'm going to cut this way, and as it cuts through, that gives us the decorative edge. We've got the plain edge here. So again, just line this up. Now my marks are on the other side, but I'm just going to go by eye here. I know I've got the halfway line, so it doesn't matter. It usually all works out quite well. So just pop that there, and again, just using a little bit of tape, hold that into position, and that'll just stop it moving around. So tape on, and there we go. You can see I've stuck that on, and I've got a couple of mil of paper just along the top for safety reasons, as it were, so it doesn't try and spill out over the top. Flip it over and get ready to pop it through the machine again. So my plate's in here. You can see obviously that there's it just gets easier because we don't have to worry about this part at the end getting caught on the machine. Run it through. I can feel it drop on and off the plate. Go. And again, just carefully peel this tape off and give that a good tap, get the bits out, and we'll do the other section there as well. So our final cut, you can see now, I'm just going to line it up here, line it up at the end there, and give a couple of mil at the top. Rub my tape down, not too hard, because as I said, if it's too tacky it will pull off the paper there. Okay, and this is the final one, so again, lift that up, ready to flip it over like so, and we're ready for our final cut on this particular one. So again, now I'm just lining that up, popping my plate on top. And remember, when you're shimming this, what we call shimming, you have it just for the thin metal dies. To be honest, these are the most common ones out there now, and if you know your machine and you've used the dice before, you know exactly what you're doing there. And if I just pull that back, we can see that's the last one that's taken the top off there. And this one, again, I'm just going to pull it off and smooth that out the way. And there we go. We can see our lovely cuts now because of the way we've done it. Our decorative edges here and here, on there and on there, because so when it slots together, that's how we get everything working. So for the second half, all I'm going to do is just repeat the same procedure again, but this time have it and that, so that when I put them back to back with the fold, let me just pop a fold on here. when these two come together like so and that slots down, I know I've got to have a decorative there, and a decorative face here and here. There's a kind of logic to it. So I just put that next to it there. We can see that that's going to work there. It's the one as it cuts in onto the surface, creates the decorative edge, gives us that lovely sort of look. So that would be how we cut. So on this one, it's one there, second die, then there and there. Okay, so it's the same procedure as this. I'm going to go on ahead, and now just before I go on and cut that, just to say on this one, because the lines come up from the bottom here, I've put my little lines on there just to guide me where to place my die. So that gives me a visual clue as to where to go with it here as I cut down on this one. So I'll go on ahead now and cut this one, and we'll put the whole card together. Okay, so I've now got my two halves. As you can see, that they're folded, so the next thing to do is really the cutting. But you can see the die makes a lovely top to the card. So what we've got to do now is just slice this, and I'm just going to use my trusty craft knife here and pop it onto the line. So there's only 4 cuts, up from the bottom and up from the top here. So that's that one there. Just make sure that it's gone through, because you'll need to open that up. There we go. And then same again on here, 2 cuts. One from there and another one here, like so. And then it's simply a case of slotting these two together. So you can either start at the top or the bottom. I'm just going to just slot those two into there like that, and then this fold comes like so. And that bit goes there, and then a little bit of a squeeze, and there we go. We've got a really lovely card, and it's ready for decorating. You can use your other dies to create images on there. You could use some decoupage if you want to, use images from other CDs, but we've also got the opportunity of popping a top on here as well. Now what we can do is just simply glue this onto the tabs. I go from the behind here, and we could put a greetings message across the tab here if we want to. But you can, if you're feeling a bit crafty, use your dies and actually cut and pop 2 onto here, and we can actually make a trellis top to it as well. So I'll just show you that last technique now. So what I'm going to do, I've just popped the die on here. Now you've got a couple of choices. You can pop it in the centre, but you will get a wavy line there. So I think you're probably better off just dropping down as though we were doing one of the stretch cards, and allowing a couple of mil, if you can just see it there, and then come quite close to the centre here. Then the rest of it will fit in nicely at that point. So you haven't got much to hold it on with here. So a bit onto there, a bit onto the card, and then I'll just run that through the machine. So that's now onto my cutter. I'm going to pop it into this way and just run that through and back out, and we can see now that's cut there, and we've got a lovely edge. Pull that back carefully, because we do not want to rip that. And there we go, that comes out nicely there. So I'll just put the other die on to the other side. So now put the other die on the other side there. You can play around with this. I think cutting off the edge is fine. I could have come in a little bit tighter. I could have actually afforded to move in closer to the centre there. But it's just a case of just trying and trial and error. Coming close to the edge here, and leaving a little bit of gap there. But I think that looks nice. Again, with my tape, there isn't much to hold it. So it probably, on that tab down there, holds the most. So just pop some on there. Again, just lift that carefully. Just show you there, see how I've just got a little bit running along the top. So back into the machine, I'm going to pop it this way up so it just cuts into this plate. And again, just feed that through. You feel it kind of drop off as it gets tighter and a little bit looser as it comes off of the die. And again, carefully take your tape off so it doesn't rip any of your paper, and we'll just peel that die off there like so, and there we go. Right, that hasn't quite come to the edge, so just with my craft knife now I'll just follow that through like so, and I can just even this up a little bit more just to make it a little bit more even. I'm just sort of cheating slightly, but there we go. That's a lovely trellis edge, and now all I need to do is stick that onto the top of the card. Okay, so I've got the top in now, and you can see we've got a really lovely card, and it just creates a beautiful finish. And you could, of course, if you want to, just put some text over that if you want to, and that's it. It's beautiful. It's a card in its own right here, I think, with these trellis dies. It just looks so lovely. You don't really need much more on there. And of course, if you've got the CD, you could use text editable panels at the back as well. Okie dokie, so there we go. That's a way of using the dies to create a beautiful stretch card using the straight trellis dies.